Welcome, everybody. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible for healing. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing, powerful women of a book that we have coming out called Strong Mothers, More Than a Survival Guide. I'm so excited about this book, you guys. First, a really huge thank you to Christina Morris, the lead author of this book. Christina, we wouldn't be here without you. Thank you so much for your interest, and especially this topic, which is just a juicy, amazing topic. So thanks for getting all of us together here. Ladies, hey, what's happening? Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, we have women from all over the world in this Zoom room today. Reverend Dr. Ariana Platten is a best-selling author, internationally acclaimed speaker, and the founder of asoulfulworld.com, a global wisdom community offering tools and teachings for transformation. I have Allie Levine with us. She is a celebrity stylist, TV personality, lifestyle expert, author, breathwork specialist, content creator, and podcaster who loves helping and empowering women to activate their light within using the Allie method. I love that bio, Allie. Oh my gosh, you sound like mine. Like I am a this and a this and this, and with multi-potentialites, all of us, I know. Sally Martin is the founder of Buddha Baby, where she supports the holistic well-being of women, babies, and their parents through little moments of calm, connection, and joy. And we also have Tanya Saunders in the house. She's an author, transformation coach, yoga psychology teacher, and creator of Healthy Mind Portal, which is a spiritual brand for helping women consciously create a life they love while they're living it through breath, positive neuroplasticity, and astrology. Holy moly. I hope you guys can feel the power of the women I have in my Zoom room today. Okay, let's get this party started. Ariana, you are going to be first up for this first question. So I happen to be a divorced mom of two college-age kids. I should say adults, but you know, we say kids forever, and two fur babies. So tell me what kind of mother you are, and then about this beautiful chapter that you wrote.
So I am a long time mother. That's what kind of mother I am. I've been a mom for 40 years. My youngest child is now 19. My oldest child is 40. And I have a handful of grandchildren that go along with that. We're a yours, mine, and ours family. So I have the two oldest are mine. The middle one belongs to my husband, although he grew up in our household, and then we have one together, and then 7 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. And we have an adopted son who is from Ethiopia, who we just were able to move from refugee status down into a safe place in South Africa where he'll be going to school. He's 25. Wow. So lots of years of mothering, and what I wrote about in my chapter comes from 40 years of mothering. What I wrote about is why it's so important as mothers that we let go of any idea that we need to be perfect, and how important it is for our children to see us in the process of being imperfect, being able to see what tools we use when we make a mistake, how we apologize, how we have our tears when we're sad, how we deal with our own frustrations, all of that kind of thing. So I wrote chapter 4, and it really focuses on taking moms off the hook.
I love that. I think it's really important to understand that part of being a strong mother is not being a perfectionist. Tell me more about that piece.
Yeah, so it really simply, I started this story talking about the birth of my son, and my oldest and first. And on the day that I had him, labor was induced. And I won't go into all of the details, but it was 36 hours of labor. And once I had him, he was pretty bruised and broken from it. And by the time they put him in my arms, he was exhausted and fuzzy and hurt. And the nurse said, "Don't worry, Mom, I'm going to take him to the nursery," which is about the most disappointing thing that can happen after you had a baby, is for somebody to take your baby away from you. And so it left me right in the very first moments of motherhood feeling like not only could I not give birth, but give birth well, but I couldn't care for my baby while I was at the hospital. How was I going to care for him when I got home? And that kind of set me on a path of needing to learn to be the right, whatever the right kind of mom was. And boy, it's a big lesson to recognize how your children need to be human, how important it is to show your children that they can be human, and that being human means we make mistakes and we don't do everything perfect. And that really is, like I said, the message that I want mothers to get is you are perfectly imperfect. Your level of, and we're not talking about neglect and addictions and things that can mess with that statement, but providing you are in a healthy place and here, you're going to be human. And that's what we expect from our children and what we should teach our children to expect from us.
Love that. Thank you. I can't wait for people to read that whole chapter. I know there are a lot of women who resonate with a birth story that didn't go quite as planned, and how that messes with you, and can stay with you in terms of that. So I love how you're changing that up and giving us permission to just have all of the imperfections be actually how we are so beautiful. That's awesome. Okay, Allie, you are next up. So what kind of mother are you? And tell us about this amazing chapter that you wrote.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here with such brave, incredible moms and women. So I'm a new mom. I'm only a few years into my journey. I have my almost 4-year-old daughter and then a 20-month-old. So I'm very much new into the space of motherhood and learning every day how to let go, how to empower my daughters while empowering myself. I echo a similar traumatic birth story that did not go the way I thought it would in my magical mind. Long story short, after 42 hours with my first daughter, Amelia, I wound up in a C-section, and I felt like I had failed so much in that time, mind, body, soul. And from that, I ended up in pretty heavy postpartum depression. I tell a lot of people when they ask me, I'm like, literally felt like I was mourning the death of myself. And I actually said that to my husband. I was very kind of convinced in, all of me that I was gone and I didn't know who I was. And I think a lot of moms lose themselves, especially new moms, and they don't know how to get back to themselves or a new version of themselves. And we talk so much about this body bounce back, but there should be a celebration, right, of going forward. And that also is with mind, body, soul. And so when I finally found my own light at the end of a dark tunnel, I was able to then start to tap into the tools that really helped me, and meditation saved my life, and breathwork continued to help facilitate that for me and bring back that confidence that I had given others for so long in Hollywood and all these public spaces that I had lost within myself. And so it's really important for me now to not only help people step into that confidence, but mothers, especially when they lose themselves or feel like maybe they don't know who they are. How do you step back into that? And then how do you transform in that beautiful place with your child or with your children and be empowered in your own light and awaken to that? And then what tools you use to activate that within you.
Wow, you're making me really think about the identity shift. I don't think that's something that any mother can get away with not having. Becoming the mother means you lose who you were before, and you are this person here and not even really sure maybe who you are. I know some moms don't have that struggle in the moment, but I know a lot who do.
Yeah, and I was one of them. And can I just tell you, I never expected to have that, in my mind, because I had it all together before I became a mom. I thought, oh, I'll just walk into this and have the baby and go right back to work. And I did, real quick, I would go to set in the beginning with my daughter after 9-10 weeks of being told I could go back, and, had her on my little, carrier. And I was honestly lying to myself. I had no idea what I was doing. I was a new mom. I was struggling every which way. And I was just showing up because I felt like I was in survival mode of old Allie. I have to stay in this old pattern. I have to keep going. And I had already lost myself and I had no clue. And it wasn't really until the heavy postpartum depression hit where I couldn't show up anymore. And I was just drowning. And it was like, wait, who am I? What is happening? And so you're right, that identity shift and loss, I think, happens so many for us. And I've had other moms tell me it happens later and on. And so it's like, how do we move forward in that space and be able to empower ourselves and transform into a much more, beautiful new version of us without feeling like we actually lost ourselves? We've gained something. Right now, I finally feel, after being a mom of 2, as much as I'm learning, and as you guys know, my toddler was having a moment before we started this today, I'm learning how to let go and empower myself and know that, it is each passing moment. And I continue to learn as Allie and allow myself to be empowered in that.
One of the marks of, I think, a strong mother is just that awareness that you just shared with us. And you are all teaching awareness in your chapters, which is going to just greatly help people to have truly life-changing moments. I cannot wait for people to really grasp the master teachings and tools and strategies you all are. This is one of those books for me. I so wish I had this book. I needed this book so bad, before I became a mother, but whatever, like, it's all divine. We know this, right? But this book is just so awesome. Okay, Sally, tell us, what kind of mother are you, and about this amazing chapter that you wrote?
Oh, thank you, Laura. It's lovely to be here, especially as my mothering journey is a little bit different, I guess, because I am not a mother as yet, in a physical sense anyway. Maybe won't be a mother in a physical sense, but I have found myself in a role where I'm kind of mothering the community, which was completely accidental and never planned. But it is the way that it's happened. And Buddha Baby, my little business, just takes on a life all of its own, to be really honest. So my chapter is really about the observations that I've had of working with new mums, especially new dads too, but particularly new mums. And over the last 15 years, really, in my local area, I taught many parent and baby classes, and mums arrive in all kinds of states, as we've already heard and described. When they come into class, and it's a new thing to come to a baby class, it can feel quite scary. I think sometimes it's a new experience for a lot of people, and so I guess I kind of hold space while teaching some useful strategies and tools to help new mums on their journey. So my chapter is really based on my observations of parents in my classes, and it focuses on a baby yoga class and some of the concerns that parents have when they arrive, one of which is that there's so much telling them what to do and what they should be doing that they can't actually hear their own instinct anymore. So a lot of what we do is just kind of putting aside everything else and just going back to hearing what's inside us and what is driving us to want to do the things that we do and just to respond to our babies. And I guess Buddha Baby for me has been like that, because I've just had to respond as it's happened and let it grow and just follow that path. So yeah, that's the kind of parallel, I guess. So it's a bit different.
That was the biggest thing that I love the most, is that you're just guiding us back to our own inner wisdom. It's so important as a parent and a human, and mothering. And it's why I asked the question about, what kind of mother are all of our authors, because we have all kinds of different mothering going on. Mothering happens with energy and awareness. And whether you've had a baby, adopted a baby, don't have kids, but mother a community, are a mother to your pets, are a mother, right? I mean, there's just so many different ways that we be that energy for others. So thank you for being one of those people and for understanding that importance of trusting. Oh my gosh, can I have a raise of hands of people who became a mother and then all of that intuition stuff went out the window because of all these things that you were told, and you're listening to yourself going, that can't be right, like that feeling I'm having, but in truth, that's exactly what we have to get back to, right, Sally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important. And I think when I observe the mums in my classes, and when they get back to doing what they actually feel is right, then their baby settles because they're more
Yes.
relaxed. And it's that two-way dance to mum and babies. When mum relaxes, baby relaxes, but you can't really relax when you've got all this pressure to be doing things in a certain way because so and so or such and such has told you that's got to be how it is.
Yes.
So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sally. Tanya, you are next up. Let's hear about what kind of mother you are and about your chapter.
Oh, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I just feel really grateful. And I'm a little nervous because my dog just started barking. So the wrong dog that I locked up. But so I like to describe, which is going to be a good indication of like why I wrote my chapters. I like to describe how I am as a mom through like the archetypes of my astrology. So my unique astrology. So I'm a Cancer sun. So like I love to provide this nurturing, sensitive, like mama bear kind of home, have them feel really secure and feel like really loved. I'm a Capricorn rising. So I do love for my kids to have goals and have structure and routine, feel safe. And my moon is in Virgo. So I do have a sense of perfectionism as a mom, right? And so my chapter was about ditching the mom guilt. So ditching that perfectionism, as Ariana was saying, and how we can ditch the mom guilt by through emotional healing, by learning of our natural human needs, our emotional needs that we might not even know, because through the layers and layers of protection that we have developed as adults, we have become unaware of them. And so through the moon, it gives you an indication of what your emotional needs were as a child, and if they were nurtured, right? And if they were cultivated. And it's still very much a part of you as a mom. And you can go through a tool of learning like certain, as kids, as any kid is not going to leave childhood unscathed, right? And so like there is some questions you can ask yourselves in your body. If it doesn't feel like it's a yes or no, you can go back and you can essentially reparent your inner child that lives within you. And so it's a beautiful way to heal for mothers and to serve as mothers. So that's what it's about.
I love the approach with the astrology and just understanding what's possible to know about yourself that might change the way that you think about how you're being in the world, how you're being a mom, right? What's been that biggest aha for you in knowing that information about yourself?
Really, it's just understanding that I have this human need of serving the world, and it almost trumps parenting my kids, right? And so there is this awareness and attunement of how to create the harmony, because I have to be authentic to myself, but also parent my children. But so releasing that guilt of knowing that's very, very much a part of me, of how I want to serve, and feeling really authentic in that, but not feeling as a mom that they do need. So that is, a huge awakening of how to be able to align again to my authenticity without gravitating towards fear. And that fear becomes an energy too, that's not going to serve my children.
I love that. I resonate with that deeply because I've had such a huge mission in my life, building this empire and having that little niggling guilt sometimes that I connected that big ambition with not being a great mom somehow, So I like what you're saying about this and just understanding it about yourself and it being okay.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. How do you embrace your ambition in a way that can be serving?
Yeah. Awesome. Oh my goodness. I love hearing you all talk about yourselves and these chapters. And just going to say a big thank you to all of you for stepping up and just, saying yes to the project, but sharing these stories, these vulnerable, amazing stories about yourselves. And then in these chapters, we also step up with a master tool. So our readers are going to have huge gifts. And you are all such badasses in the way that you're doing this in these chapters. I get excited about this one. I know I said it earlier. There's some big energy around this book. So the next question I have for all of you, Allie, I'm going to start with you for this one. What does it even mean to show up in the world as a strong mother to you?
I would have to say it's going back to kind of what we've all talked about in this space already of that intuition, that inner knowing that, no matter what the chaos and noise and other things that are going on around us, what our inner knowing is, what our intuition is, coming home to ourselves allows us to be our strongest self because we know, even if we don't think we know, we know. I learned that in my new motherhood journey. I was like, oh, wow, I knew, I just shut it down. And so when you step into that strength and you see like, oh, I really do know, and I'm just going to go along with this and trust that, the more you step into your power, the more you step into your own gifts, and the more you are a strong mother.
Yes. Yeah, if you guys see me looking down, it's because I'm writing stuff down that you guys said. I knew, but I just shut it down. How many times have we done this, right? I know. And I'm emphasizing that for our listeners today too, because that's the gift you give yourself, is mastering that knowing and then trusting it always. We're never going to be perfect in that, but if you can get it 80-90% of the time, I think we're doing pretty good,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Thank you for that. Sally, how about you? What does it mean to you to show up in the world as a strong mother?
Yeah, it's interesting that question for me, I guess. I think it's, for me personally, it's being in the space of working with parents and babies when you're actually not a parent yourself, and having the confidence to do that and not feel like you don't belong. Because sometimes like mums can be in a bit of a club. Like, I don't know if it's the same in the US, but in the UK, everyone has like a jumper that says mama on it. And it's like, if you're not in that club, you feel like you can't join it. And when I first started my classes, I just assumed that within a couple of years, I would have a baby. It didn't even cross my mind that I wouldn't. So I think being a strong mum is about accepting that there's mums of all kinds, all everywhere. And that actually, even if we think about things like Mother Nature, mother often comes before another word, doesn't it? So it's more that sort of nurturing instinct that we've all got within us. And I think sometimes it's about taking away that kind of idea or image of what we have as a mother and then replacing that with the kind of essence of mother, really, which is that we all have this instinct that we want to look after each other, hopefully most of us, and whether that's the world, whether that's animals, whether that's babies, whether that's other mothers, other parents, whatever. I just think it's getting back to that.
Yes, a nurturing instinct. I think that's a big piece of that. You're making me think of my friends, my sister, my people in my world who did not have children, and the way that I watch them nurture anyway, it's the instinct of that. It's the caregiving, and the person that they're being. So yes, lovely. Thank you, Sally. Okay, so Tanya, you're next on this one. How would you put this in terms of how you think it means to show up in the world as a strong mother?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. So first of all, I have 3 children, and how I think I show up as a strong mother is learning to learn along the way, learning to be still has helped me in stillness. That's so much as um, gets healed and gets revealed that way. Learning to be with the fears and looking to fears as allies, looking to trust the process, looking to trust evolution, looking for my children as my teachers, and just continuing to go outside of my comfort zone, knowing that it is part of what's really important to me is, human potential and potential as a mom. And often, potential when you grow, it's very, very uncomfortable. It's not easy, And so showing up that way, showing up strong, showing up scared and strong, and continuing to learn with practices to be able to, again, self-regulate through the ick, through the discomfort, through all the stuff that we can't control. Yeah.
The beginner or learner's mind is a mark of a martial arts master. And so that, for me in my world of that, you're just making me think about that beginner's mind, always learning. And something you said a minute ago about our kids are our teachers, just having that mindset is badass, girl. Like, like when you can look at your kids and be like, whoa, what can I learn from you versus you thinking you got to teach it all to them, right?
It's so cool. It really is just so cool. Yeah.
Agreed. Awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay, Ariana, how about you? I know it's hard to go last on this question.
No, it's actually, it's such a good question. It's such a really good question because I think we have our own definitions of strong, and 40 years of mothering will tell you a lot, will teach you a lot. And I totally agree with the statement that our children are our best teachers. I also understand that sometimes showing up as a strong mother, for me, the hardest thing about that is just recognizing that each of my children has their own journey. And I have 5 in my life. I have one who was discharged from the military as a wounded veteran. I have one who spent time running with guns and drugs and gangs, and scary time. About 10 years of that. I have one who is in college right now, figuring out what his identity is and how he's going to express himself. And, I have this slew of little grandkids who are going through all the things that happen in families these days, separations and divorces and changes and all of that. And after 40 years of doing this, what I understand has kept me sane is coming back around over and over again to understand that life gave me many challenges and that somehow I made it through all of them. Somehow at 61 years old, I'm still sitting here and I know what my life was. So learning to be strong enough to let your children have their own experience. I had a native elder tell me when I was probably in my 40s that there's really only one sin in life, and that is to steal your children's lessons. That, the greatest gift that we give our children is to stand with them instead of in front of them, whatever it is they're going through. And I think that when I think of strong mothers, they're the mothers that can align with their children without protecting their children from the consequences, the natural consequences of life, because those early consequences cultivate in our children an understanding of where they need to be as adults in the world.
You see me scribbling, right? Okay. I like that. Greatest gift is to stand with them. I think that's so, so important. And it's hard. We want to protect. We want to not let them learn the hard way, those lessons. It's so hard. And yet when you can do that, I think for sure we'll go to warrior level with that one. That's a warrior mom who can do that.
Well, and I think we often in our society think a strong mom is the opposite of that. We think the strong mom is the one who's the mama bear standing up, protecting her children every step of the way. And when we do that, not that there aren't appropriate times to do that, but when we overdo that area, we don't allow our children to learn what they need to know to cope with a world that can be really challenging.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, so ladies, the next question really has to do with community. And I know, so this small one right here, the 5 of us are part of the bigger Strong Mothers book community, which is a part of all of the communities you've been involved with that got you here today. Honestly, community for me has been the difference between success and failure. It has been the difference between love and the opposite of that. So Sally, I want to hear about what community has meant to you.
Okay, so I'm just thinking out loud. When you were saying that, what I was thinking is that sometimes people have really tried to make me grow my business bigger than I want it to go. So I've often been told, or it's been suggested that other people should run my classes. I should do it out as a franchise. Get loads of other baby wearing consultants on board, like all of it. Make it big. And every time I've resisted, because I've realized that what I enjoy about it is actually doing the classes myself and being in the local community. And so I think it's quite small for me. My community is my local area, which is a little town just outside of East London. And it's very leafy and lovely, but almost everybody knows me here. And I can't walk down the street without someone saying hello.
It's the Buddha baby lady.
It's the Buddha baby lady. It's the lady that bakes the cake. It's just sort of become this space, and it's become such home for me. And I feel very grounded when I'm here. So I think sometimes we get this idea, especially like now we can have a community all over the world with Zoom, that we have to have this massive community and we have to be reaching out to everybody. But for me, I recognize the integrity of sometimes keeping things small and family-like, actually has power within it. And that's important.
I love that answer. Yes, yes, yes.
Does it make sense?
It does make sense. I think a lot of us are challenged with growing and scaling a business because we think that's what we're supposed to do. And then especially in my holistic healer world, I hang with a lot of men and women who they run up against some resistance at this line about that, because then it turns into some other kind of energy that isn't theirs, right? It has to be, you have to trust other people because you can't do everything alone when it comes to growing and scaling. And that's, anyone who owns a business, you're on a self-development journey big time. So it helps you grow to be faced with these different things and then making your own decision from that place inside of you that says, this is really how I want to keep this. And this feels really good to me. So it actually, Sally, speaks to your chapter and what you're talking about, is trusting that,
Yeah, definitely. And I think, bringing the community of mums together when we're, in the lockdown, when we had to do it online, we still managed it. But when we came back face to face, they love coming and being together. And a lot of them make firm friends that they keep for many years in those classes. So yeah, I'm like the mummy dating agency.
Yeah, that's nice. That's perfect. Okay, Tanya, how about you for this one? What has community meant to you?
I think community is it's a human need, so safety, satisfaction, connection. So we need community as humans. And for me, I think it's pockets, because we're so multi-dimensional potentialates, as you said, so I just think of my communities as pockets that support, it's reciprocal in how we give and receive and serve, and in a beautiful way. So community to me is just like these pockets, like within my mom community, within my spiritual community, within my running community. So yeah, I just think of it as love and growth and support and collaboration and uniqueness, like all how it's an opportunity to cultivate all these different parts of you. That's what I think about community.
I love that you're reminding us that it's a need, and I'm relating it to being a mom right this moment and helping my kids understand this at an earlier age. That I think once upon a time I was taught that success meant I did it by myself. And if I wasn't doing it by myself, there must be something wrong with me, right? When it's really quite the opposite.
Yeah.
It's moving into the communities that can help you in ways you didn't even know were possible.
Yeah.
So I would like to remind my kids about community, early.
Yeah. I mean, you just think about it, especially during COVID when we were so removed and isolated, but we saw out in the virtual world of different communities. You see it in Facebook. There's all these different communities, pockets of things that light you up because it's authentic to you, or communities that you're curious about, so I just think community is an opportunity, to grow and serve. And
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Ariana, how about you? What's
Yeah,
community meant?
I've been sitting here listening to all of you and thinking about all the different ways that community has been really important to me. It's been very important, as a young mother, having other young mothers to talk to was really important. Finding people my age with the same challenges. As I've, as a spiritual leader, I've led communities. I'm leading a global community right now with people from 50 different countries in it. And kind of at this point in my life, that sense that I know enough about community to hold a vision of what community can be is kind of where I am in that conversation. That I think that what you said is true, Tanya. Communities gather around different ideas, and someone has to hold the space for what that idea is and communicate that idea. And then people can come together around that idea, find commonalities, and find support in their life. And I think, if I wish that somebody had said to me as a young mother, all of the things that you're going to learn about raising a family and the community that family is will demonstrate in every other community that you ever lead or participate in. All of the dysfunction will come and all of the functional learning will come in to that kind of environment. And so for me right now, I think the importance of community is that it provides me with an opportunity to take some of the stuff I learned as a strong mom and put it into good purpose in the world. And I hope that this book does that. I hope that it inspires moms to look forward and see that these really challenging moments, because mothering is full of lots of them, these really challenging moments are not just growing you for your children, they're growing you for the ways that you'll contribute in the world.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you. Okay, Ali, how about you? What do you want to add? It's always tough to go last on these, but I know that each of you speaking about these topics in your unique way. I'm just really enjoying hearing all of your voices about this. So let's hear yours, Ali.
Yeah, I love listening to everyone's answers. And I've been sitting here the whole time while listening, like, what does it mean to me? And when you were saying, Laura, I echo when you were saying about the success. I was taught that as well in many ways. And especially when I was in the styling world and all of these competitive spaces. And, it wasn't until actually between becoming a mom and then, the world lockdown and everything going on that I really realized how much I needed community. But not only I needed community, obviously everyone else did too. And I think being vulnerable in that space and showing up in that container in the most vulnerable way, where maybe you don't feel like you can be vulnerable publicly, or you can't share something that's on your heart that like you really need to. It's like that heart tug of like, let me give you my vulnerable self. Let me be completely authentically raw me. That was where I started to truly find my community, and not just, different types of, like-minded and loving the same intentions and things to share. But it was really like, wow, even if we didn't, that vulnerability, that rawness, that realness came into alignment, and it just activated something within my soul, which, is part of my chapter. And I think that that is so important, especially now we've learned, like Tanya was saying, like it's a human need. And it's like, it's not even just a need, it's an activation within us to be able to be vulnerable with who we choose to be around in that space, and give that love and share that, and so it's been like constant evolution for me within that, and activation and growth. And I love what everybody shared around this.
I'm in love with what you said about, your most vulnerable self being the way that you attract your community the fastest, because, and we're also scared sometimes to be that or say that or whatever, tell that story. But then as soon as we do, it's like zoom, like a magnet.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
it's
you
amazing.
activate, right? You just activate everyone, and they're like, oh yes, me too. And that was exactly my feeling over and over and over again. I was like, oh my gosh, the more I choose to show up vulnerably, the more I attract exactly what you said. It's like a magnet, and it's magic, honestly.
Yes. Oh, I want everyone to remember that. And, when you feel that fear inside of you, that's a little bit of a purpose-driven fear, is how I like to call it. So be your full-on badass, wild, sexy, hippie self, and you are going to attract the exact right people that you're meant to attract, because you're being all of you, down to the most personal, vulnerable pieces. And you ladies know that that's what these books are about to me, sharing those kinds of stories. And we have built communities based on, those stories, which has been quite magical. Awesome. Okay, so I have one more question for all of you. I want to get around to all of you for this. So I'll challenge you to just come up with the one on this next question. Okay, you're going to want to give me like 100, but try to come up with just one thing. So Tanya, you're going to be first. So for me, feeling is healing, and feeling is an awareness practice. So helping people feel has been a part of this whole journey for me. I'm practicing it myself and then helping others. So what I really want to know from all of you is, what does your practice of awareness look like in your day-to-day? Give me one example.
One example, not just one word, right? I can give you one example.
Correct. You can give me an example.
You're right, though. I could give you like 100.
Right? I mean, I know. Yeah.
Breath work. It's 100% breath work. Breath takes me back to the present. Breath work takes me into stillness. Breath work takes me, because I'm in the present, I'm not reliving the past, because that's how our minds work. Our minds are always preoccupied with past thoughts, prior thoughts. That's the human brain, right? And my breath takes me into stillness. And again, it's back to what I said earlier. It's about stillness. In stillness, so much is revealed, and then that's how you heal. And it's always the breath. It's always the breath, and it's something that we can control. So it's so cool. It's just so cool. That's the only thing that we can control to manipulate our nervous system to come back into a more calm, relaxed, creative state, and not reactive, not fight flight, not stressed. That doesn't serve you. So it's always the breath.
I would love to ditto the coolness of breath work. Few of us, I know everybody will, breath work comes up in every single interview, no matter what the topic of the book, no matter what the group of authors, breath work comes up. It's a practice of all of us, which is interesting, right? Because I want the viewers to understand that my holistic healer posse uses breath work. All of them do, in one way or another, even if it's just pausing for a breath to relax, all the way to the shamanic breath work technique that we practiced in Mexico when we went for our deep, deep healing, and all of the different ways in between, right? So find your way. Love the breath work. Thank you, Tanya. Ariana, how about you? What's another way?
Yeah. My favorite way is silence. So one day, one week, summer, I go away and I actually go to a retreat with about 50 other people, and we sit in silence for 4 days. And we share meals in silence, and we walk 150 pristine acres of New Mexico in silence. And we sit together and we walk together and we eat together. And the connection that you can build with other people when you're completely in silence is actually really amazing, because there's a freedom, like you pass each other on the path and you don't have to say anything, but you feel the energy of what happens when you pass another human. You notice the slightest movement of the animals or the wind as it takes the flowers rippling across the kind of back valley area behind the lodge. And so there's a thing that happens in silence. There's a settling of the nervous system. I kind of feel like I settle down into the pelvic bowl, and I really feel myself on the earth and of the earth, and connected to the earth and connected to all forms of life around me. And the healing that can happen for me in 4 days of silence, I can't accomplish. I have not found a way to accomplish in any other practice. And after all these years, I've practiced a lot, but that just being still with myself comes to a point where my monkey mind is no longer spinning. And I'm really still and quiet inside. And that is an amazing, amazing awareness and awakening for me each time I experience it.
I'm feeling that. I'm feeling the waves that you described. I'm with you there. Okay, I have this funky question for you. What happens if you laugh? Are you allowed to laugh in a silent
yeah.
retreat? Okay,
Yeah,
I
so
just needed to know.
We wash dishes together in the morning. There are lots of laughs for how we do things when when you're not
Okay.
talking to each other. Yeah, you can laugh. It's
Okay, good. I might just sign up for that then. As long as I'm allowed to make noise like a laugh, then we're good to go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Allie, how about you? What's this look like in your day to day?
Yeah, I would say coming home to your sovereignty. I mean, I echo the breath work, of course. And for me, it's breath work and meditation, being able to just be free within yourself and come home to yourself is how I navigate, the everyday moment to moment of motherhood, and even, my own thoughts and everything that goes on, and being able to know that I am sovereign, we all are, and we can be that and come home to that. It's just a matter of tapping within. So I think, that meditation and that breath work for me, that combination that creates sovereignty, that's where I find, my home in myself.
Yes, really nice. I think that probably all of us have similar pieces and tools. And that's why I tried to warn you guys, because I know you could tell me like 30 different ways that you do this during the day. But I love hearing the way that all of you bring that into your daily routine. And it's about that positive habit of the breath, connecting to the breath, connecting to the stillness, taking a couple of minutes to meditate. You don't have to do that for an hour, by the way, you guys. Even just being mindful in the moment for a couple of moments really counts and shifts the energy, which is why we're talking about this, because that's what it does.
Massively.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes it's literally breastfeeding for me while meditating, and just the fact that I can tap in while I'm still doing something else, like you said, that stillness, that sovereignty. It's like, okay, I'm good.
Yes. Okay, Sally, you are going to close us out today. What is your version of this?
I think it's about getting out of my head and into my body. I'm a Gemini air sign, Tanya. So, I spend a lot of time up here. So it doesn't really matter what I do. It could be a walk, it could be yoga, which I've really learned to love, or a bath or a massage, just putting beautiful oils on my body. It doesn't really matter, but it's just something that is about getting back in touch with my skin and my body and moving in whatever way. That really makes a big difference for me.
I'll ditto that one too. The coolness of being in your body and all of the different ways that you can be in there. That's really, really crucial for me as well. I have to get back in there to feel. Everybody does, you know. Awesome, Sally. Thank you. Authors, to all of you, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everybody. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks,
for having us.
Flora. Thanks,
Thank you.
Christina.
Yes, thank you again to Christina Morris. And to everybody who's listening, we are going to have one big ass book launch party on March 4th for Strong Mothers. So join us on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page at noon Eastern on March 4th for that. And if something that one of these amazing women said just sparked something for you today, well, then drop down into those show notes because their websites are there. Click and explore. Take the next step. Find out what awesomeness they are up to, because they are up to a lot of it in the world, and they are very generously waiting to connect with you. Ask them your questions. They're there to support you. So that's really the kind of community we have built around our books, right? These women are accessible and waiting to connect. And lastly, today, everybody, just remember your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Bye, ladies.